All right, I think we are ready to go here. Just give everybody a few minutes. Hope everybody's doing well out there in TV land. Get a little closer to my microphone here. I got to bring this. Everybody's always telling me the microphone's a little too quiet, so trying to make sure it's all right. Okay, well, looks like we got a little echo. Hang on a minute here. There we go. We got that shut off, got the sound off. All right. So let's see. We got a couple tuned in here, and I know more people. Everybody just keeps joining after a few minutes. So let's see. This is the I have to admit, this is the first time I messed up in terms of the order of the broadcasts. So I was going to do, as you can see from the title, I was going to do the Arabic and Hebrew today. I'm actually going to do that one tomorrow. So I'm so sorry if I'm disappointing you, but what I'm going to do, just because I totally messed up my schedule today, we're going to be looking at the modern Hebrew to biblical Hebrew today. I see we got a question here. So yeah, I see there's a paid content for both YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Is it? Yeah. So on the Patreon, it's a significantly bigger library. The I think I put it for $5 a month for the for the YouTube members, if I am not mistaken, and that gives everybody access to all of the live streams in their complete unabridged format. In addition to all of the free stuff on YouTube, the Patreon channel is $12 a month for the Hebrew and Aramaic comprehensive package, but it gives you access to all of the unabridged. So you'll know that many of my YouTube videos are shortened. Like one that came out yesterday, I think was maybe 12 minutes. The entire video is about 25 minutes. And so if you're looking for the full content, then Patreon's the way to go. And it's $12 a month. And when I was thinking about the pricing, basically I'm providing like a seminary level education in Hebrew and Aramaic and even some Greek, when you get right down to it, for basically $144 a year. So that's kind of the rationale doing what I'm doing. But thank you so much for checking into it. And if you have any questions, let me know. All right. Really glad that everybody's here. I was just saying a minute ago that, yes, I know I wrote in the title that we're doing Hebrew and Arabic today. I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. I'm so sorry. I've been so busy lately that I mixed up the order of the broadcasts. And so today we're going to do lesson 4 of the modern Hebrew to biblical Hebrew. And the whole goal with this series is that, as I mentioned in the last few videos, that we're trying to see, we're trying to get more ready access for biblical Hebrew, because when people start, as I did, and as so many do, with biblical Hebrew first, it's not a living language to the student. And if it's not a living language, it's hard to use on a daily basis. And if it's hard to use on a daily basis, you really don't learn to think in the language. And so, I think it was Bach who once said, um, the playing the piano is easy. You just press the keys and the piano does all the work. And obviously false modesty, but when I was a music student in my jazz days, there were days where I was not doing well, frustration of, improving as a musician. And I'd say, man, I'm not playing my bass today. My bass is playing me. So, yeah. And so that's how it was with biblical Hebrew for me until I started with modern Hebrew. And then all of a sudden, I felt a far greater command of biblical Hebrew as a result. So that's what we're going for here. Jank, thanks for joining us. And Jank has a question. Is ain the construct form? Let me get my glasses out. Of ain. Sorry. Oh, of ayin. Okay. That's frankly, that's a really good question. I do not believe so, but you know what? I am not certain. Nobody's ever asked that, and it's never occurred to me. It's never treated that way. So, and it's not a noun. So, historically, is there a relation? Perhaps I'd have to think about that. but it's not treated as a noun, and therefore it is not in practice a construct at all, because it's just an existential particle, and particles don't have construct forms, so to speak. Yeah. So, but really interesting question, and I am going to follow up on that for you just to see about the historical relationship. Um, yeah, yeah, really got to think about that one. Excellent question. Excellent question. I got to check the other Semitic languages there too. So, all right, cool. So let's see. Well, let's get right to it. So we are in, lesson 4 here. Okay. And just let me know, is the video okay? Can everybody see everything okay? Um, want to make sure that this is as good as I can do here. So, all right. So today we're going to be continuing. I think what we talked about yesterday afternoon with yesh and ein. So we said that yesh is an existential particle, as is ein, and so oh, Gabs is there. Welcome, Gabs. All right, so yesh is a positive existential particle, meaning there is, and ein is an existential particle, meaning there is not. Today we're going to connect these with the preposition le, and this is going to be really fascinating because it's when you add these existential particles with the preposition le, that's how you construct the verb to have in Hebrew. Properly speaking, there is no verb to have in Hebrew. Um, it's actually what we say is there is to me, there is not to me. I have not. So Hebrew does not have a verb to have. It doesn't have a corresponding form to tener or to have like we have in English. Okay. All right. So and then Colin, YouTube. Yeah, so a lot of the you'll get full access to the live streams, but all of my other videos are in their full format only on Patreon, and so that's why it's a little bit more per month. That's why Patreon's 12 and I think YouTube's 5. So yeah. Yep, but thanks for asking, and whether you guys join or not, I really appreciate the interest and the support. You guys are the best. All right, so let's go. So by the end of this lesson, students should be able to use yesh and ein correctly. All right, and we already started with that last time. And then we're going to attach le, the preposition, with pronominal suffixes to express possession. Okay, don't worry about understanding that now. Let's just do it, and then it will make sense. Okay. And then we're going to learn how to say I have, I don't have, do you have? We'll put it into question form. Yep. And Colin has a comment there, like Arabic. Absolutely. Now with Arabic, it's a little bit different in how we construct it. And Colin, at the end of the lesson, when I finish up, even though this technically is not going to be an Arabic lesson today, please ask that question again, because I would love to explain for you really quickly the difference between saying I have in Hebrew versus Arabic. They're very similar, but there is some subtle differences. So I'll explain that to you. So excellent question. All right, and then we're going to recognize how the same structure appears in Biblical Hebrew. Okay, so we're going to shoot for the next 10 minutes or so. This is just approximation to review existential particles. Okay, and so the first one is, and again, we have the nikud, the vocalization here. We have it bli nikud. We would say bli means without. Bli nikud, without nikud. The transliteration. So if you don't know Hebrew script yet, totally okay. You can learn it in transliteration and then the translation. So to say there is or there are in modern Hebrew, and this is going to be true in Biblical Hebrew as well, we're going to say yesh. The consonants are yud, shin. Yud, shin. Okay? And with the vocalization, yesh, yesh. And that means there is or there are. So if you're watching this, please make sure that you're either saying it out loud, or if you're in an environment where you cannot speak out loud because you're at work, or someone in your house is sleeping or whatever, you don't want to wake the dog, then just mouth the words. But mouthing them will help you because it's muscle memory in your face. Okay? Yesh, there is, there are. Okay, now, ein. There is not, there are not. So both of these, did you notice that it can be there is or there are? There is not or there are not. So there is no category of number, we would say. In other words, there's no singular or plural. Okay? So there's no singular or plural. It's just a particle. It is not inflected whatsoever. Sort of. I'm going to clarify. I'm going to clarify that in a future lesson. Okay, but for now, they're not inflected. It's just whether you're referring to something singular or plural. Like we use the example. If I say there is a book, yesh sefer. Gratuitous self-promotion. If you haven't read it, pick up a copy on Amazon. I wrote this back in 2019, so there you go. All right, there is a book on my desk. Yesh sefer al ha-shulchan sheli. Yesh sefer. But if I want to say there are books, okay, yesh sefarim. There are books. Yesh doesn't change. It means there are because of the context, okay? All right, shameless promotion. I'm so sorry. All right. So, all right, don't worry about that. Okay. Here we go. So, if we want to say there is a book, and let's, make sure you're trying to pronounce this out loud. Yesh sefer, right? And if you're not familiar with the letters, samech, pe, resh. Remember that pe can make an F sound or a PH sound as well. Yesh sefer. Yesh sefer. Okay? And then if we want to say there is not a book or there is no book, either one, they mean the same thing. Okay? Ein sefer, ein sefer. Okay? Yesh sefer, there is a book. Ein sefer, there is not a book. Okay? All right. So this is kind of like in Korean. I don't know if anybody out there speaks Korean, but my Korean is not good. I know, some select words, but there's the word isayo, I think it is isayo, which means there is, and there's obsayo, which means there is not. And so my understanding, and I may be wrong, you Korean scholars out there, let me know if I'm wrong on this, is isayo means there is. So if you want to say, like, I have time, there is time, or something like that, it would be shigon isayo. And if you want to say there is not time, it would be shigon obsayo, I think it is. Anyways, I'll let the Korean experts rib me about my Korean pronunciation there. Okay. All right. So we got some questions. Let me just pause here for a minute. So Jank, who's the first member, the first paid member for my channel. So shout out to Jank there. All right. And so how would you translate the use of, okay, so me'ayin in, Jank is asking about Isaiah 6, where it says me'ayin, and that would be from there. It's, so I'm going to bring this up for you. Excellent question, Jank, and happy to, all right, I just gotta, oh, there it is. Boop. Okay, and we want to move that up there. Okay, and then bear with me. So this is great because we're ultimately learning, at least in this class, we're learning modern Hebrew so that we better understand biblical Hebrew. Okay, all right, so. All right, and so we're in Isaiah 6, right? And let me see. Oh, yeah, so that's down a little bit. Okay. Oh, let's see. I got to scroll through. I can't think of what verse this is here. It's verse 5 or so, maybe. Thanks for your patience. Thank you, 11. Okay. Takes a village, right? Okay. Here we go. Okay. So yeah, so it starts off by saying va'omar, then I said, and I said, okay, ad matai Adonai, okay, until, literally, until when, O Lord. You can see the translation says how long, which, but literally, if you want to be hyper literal, ad matai, until when, O Lord, not the name of God, it's his title here, okay, vayomer, and he said, ad asher, literally until that, okay, because when we want to follow that with a verb, until that, we have to use that in there. Until that, im im sha'u, okay, so until they lie waste, okay, arim, oh, and then, right, okay, and then we get here, me'en yoshev, literally, if you want to translate this hyper literally, Jank, you're going to say from, there we go. Okay. So the may means from. Yeah, this is not may I, and that's what happens when you read unvocalized sometimes. What did I do? Okay. Here we go. Yeah, so may means from, ein means there is not. That is the existential particle. Literally, from there is not yoshev. From there is not an inhabitant. Okay? But you can see that in this context, it means like without. Okay? So until cities lie waste, the best thing I can think of is what's here in the ESV is without inhabitant, So until cities lie waste, from there being no inhabitant, it really just does not work in English. Literally, you have to finesse it based on the context. So hopefully that helps. Okay, but yes, that is the existential particle, the negative existential particle ein. I did this again every single time. Me'ein, it literally means from there is not. From there is not. Okay? All right. So yeah, that's the thing about translation. I used to be a big stickler for literal translation until I realized there really is no such thing as literal translation without compromising the meaning, right? So if you're looking for a translation to actually mean something consistently, then yeah. Okay. All right. So what were we saying now? Back to this. Cool. Thanks. The explanation that's been bugging me since last night. All right. Very good. All right. So Yesh Sefer, there is a book. Ein Sefer, there is not a book. All right. And welcome. I see we got more people joining us. Lots of people coming and going, which is great, but we got a nice core here. Anybody who's new to the broadcast, if you feel like chipping in, we got a goal of 5 super chats. If you're willing to do that, that just helps me to do what I'm doing, to get the equipment we need, and all these books, the books, and all the microphones and Apple pens and all that stuff. So really appreciate your support. If you can't do it, no worries. Just glad you're here. Okay, so now, if we want to say in Hebrew, we want to say I have, literally what we are going to say is there is to me. There is to me whatever. So if I want to say I have a book, I would have to say, and I'm going to express the Hebrew in English words right now, it would be there is to me a book. There is to me a book. And that is how you would say I have a book. There is no verb to have. If I want to say I don't have a book, I would say there is not to me a book. There is not to me a book. Okay? So, we have to learn how to say to me. So the first thing is we have the preposition le, which means to or for. It actually has a whole host of meanings. It can mean so that at times, but the basic meaning, the most common meaning, we would say, is to or for. So if we want to say to me in Hebrew, we take the preposition lamed, and I gotta increase the size of the text here. Bear with me one second. This is unacceptable. Okay, so let's there we go. That's a little better. Whoops, and I didn't get everything though. So hold on one second. I see. So, I was trying to get it all onto one page. That's why. So, all right, we're just going to have to Well, hopefully that helps a little. Okay. Just go there. Okay. So, if I want to say to me, it's the preposition le, plus the pronominal suffix. So the pronominal suffix, the pronoun is going to attach. It's not going to be an independent word, okay? Remember, we've learned in other lessons that ani means I. That is an independent pronoun. When the pronoun is functioning as the subject of the sentence, then it's independent. But when it's the object of a preposition, to me, for me, by me, with me, whatever, after me, it gets attached to the preposition. So the preposition is la, yud is the pronominal suffix, and it's really not yud. Yud is just there as a vowel to indicate an I sound, and the way we say to me is li, and make sure you're saying that out loud, li. And if you have a notebook, try to write it, okay? Li, to me. Now, what about if you're referring to a male, to you, speaking to a male directly, masculine singular, okay? L'cha. And that's going to be the ch. Actually, here's the camera. I keep seeing myself over there, so I don't know which way to turn. Okay? So, l'cha, not l'ka, l'cha. So we have the preposition, we have the preposition le, okay, meaning to, and then the letter kaf, this is in the final form. When kaf appears at the end of a word, it has a different shape, and that is going to be spirantized, we would say, okay? Where, and spirantized, like the word spirit, right, or aspirate, okay? It means we're partially restricting the airflow, okay? Okay, so licha, and that means to you when referring to a single male. Licha, okay? All right, then, what about if we're referring to a single female? Well, it's going to be similar, and notice, bli nikud, without nikud, bli nikud, they're spelled the same. You'd only know from the context. When it's written with nikud, it's different, okay? So for a male, it would be licha. For a female, it would be lach. And so one of the things I would have my students do when I was, when I teach Hebrew, I'm going to take a sip of water here, is I would have them point to someone. If you're saying licha, if there is a male in your vicinity, just point to the person. And if there's a female whom you're not going to offend or creep out or something like that, you point to them and say, lach, licha, lach. Probably not the kind of thing you want to do on mass transportation, mass transit, because, yeah, people might start looking at you a little funny. But, if it's in the context of your family or friends or whatever, then, yeah, point at people, because that action of pointing at a female, seeing a female while you say the word lach, and pointing at a male while you say lecha, that's just going to reinforce it, okay? So li, to me, lecha, to you, lach, to you, but when referring to a female, and then to him, that is going to be lo. And here, the vav is not a consonant. It is a vowel. How do we know that, everybody? Think about it for a minute. I gave the explanation yesterday, if you were on the broadcast. How do we know that vav is really a vowel letter here and not a consonant? And the reason is because lamed doesn't have its own vowel otherwise. The consonant lamed would have to have its own vowel, some other vowel, for vav to function as a consonant. It does not. Lamed does not have a vowel sign. Therefore, lo. The vav is a vowel marker, I should say. And this means to him. Okay? Now, to her is going to be la. To her. Okay? La. All right. Now, let's go into the plural. You know what? I'm going to just move the... Can I do this? Hopefully this won't mess it up. Oops. Did I do that wrong? I think I did. No, yeah, nobody's going to pronounce it as la. No, that seems to be more of just a marker. Hang on one second. I just want to see if I can... I'll get to your question one sec. I just want to see if I can... Nope. Doesn't want to go. Okay, so be it. I wanted to get this, get the plural onto another page, but I can't. No, nobody's going to pronounce it with as a consonant in this case. Yep. Yeah, so you'll just hear people say la. There's no la or anything like that. Yeah. All right, then lanu. Okay, notice where the stress falls. It's on the a. Lanu means to us. To us. Lanu, to us. Once again, the vav, vowel marker or consonant. Well, look at the letter before it. The nun does not have another vowel sign with it. So the vav has to be a vowel marker. And this time it's a vowel marker for the oo vowel. When we say lo, you notice that the dot is over the vav. And so it makes the oo sound. In lanu, it kind of looks like, if you can imagine that the vav is a person and the dot is a fist, it's like punching him in the gut and saying ooh. Okay, I don't know, it's kind of cheesy, but I bet you'll remember it now. Okay, if you're having trouble already. So this is lo, where vav represents an o vowel, and here the vav is oo, lanu. But remember, why is vav used for this? Because vav, historically, is not vav, it is wow. It's a W. And O and oo have the W sound. Lo, lanu. Okay? So to us. So let's review. To me, say it with me, li. To you, referring to a single male, lecha. Make sure you get that ch. Lecha. To you, with reference to a female, lach. Okay. To him, lo. To her, la. Oh, and Jenk, LOL, my teacher used that exact name, mnemonic. If you get hit in the head or you make an O sound, if in the stomach you make an oo sound. Hey, listen, when we have these visuals, it just helps, right? Yeah. All right. So lo, to him, la, to her, to us, lanu. Now, to you, plural. Now, masculine plural, what this means is a group of all males or a group in which there is at least one male. Okay? When we use the feminine plural, it's only for a group of all females. Okay? The masculine plural is two or more people with at least one of them being a male. Okay? And that will be, if we want to say to y'all, okay, to you in the plural, lachem. And make sure you get that fricative ch sound, lachem. Okay. All right. And then to you female, it just changes with the N, lachen. Okay. But notice, just as a little help maybe, that in the second person singular, the you forms in the singular, they have ch and ch. And then the second person in the plural, the you forms in the plural, ch and ch. So if you have that ch sound in the pronominal suffix, it means some form of you, even if you forget which one it is. Okay? All right. So to you, with at least a group with at least one male, lachem. To you with only females, lachen. Okay? And then finally, to them is going to be lahem when there's at least one male included. Lahem and Lahen if it's all females. Okay? Lahen. All right. I am going to pause for a second because I have been talking a mile a minute for half an hour, and I'm going to take a sip of water while you guys write your questions out and let me know what questions I can answer for you and if I need to clarify anything. Fire away. I'll just give it a second. Give myself a second. In fact, to those who are just tuning into the broadcast, Bruchim Habayim, welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad you're here with us. All right. I'll give you guys another 10 or 15 seconds here just to write your questions in while I scroll up and or scroll down, I should say. And we start putting some phrases together. We start putting this all together. All right. So, part 3, to express, to have. As I said before, there exists X to me. This is the formula. There exists yesh. X is whatever the noun is, like sefer, sefer, and then to me. And that would be a way of saying I have. Okay. So in the affirmative, here we go. I have a book. I have a book. Well, so you guys don't get too jumbled up here. Let's put one line in yellow and one without. Okay. All right. Yesh li sefer. Yesh li sefer. Make sure you're saying it out loud. Yesh, there is. Li, to me. Okay. And then sefer. Sefer would be book. Okay. And we have a question here. So Herman or Herman, yeah. Let me know how you pronounce it. I like to get people's names right if I can. Okay, so he writes, I've heard that the Yeshli construct in modern Hebrew came from Yiddish influence, since Yiddish is a more analytical language, and in biblical Hebrew, possession was expressed in more synthetic ways. Okay, so I'm glad you asked that question. And let's take us over to the Bible. And shalom, shalom. All right. Shabbat shalom, I should say. Right? I forgot it's Friday night here. So let's see. I want to just take you over. So the question is about the origin of the expression yeshli. And I always forget. There we go. I'm getting used to switching. Okay. So, hold on. I got to fix this for you guys because you can't see the whole window, can you? All right. So what I'm going to do, we're going to move that up. I'm going to cover the chat for just a minute. And I'm also going to get my mug out of the way so that you guys can see. And let me just thank you for your patience here. Okay. So there we go. And whoops. Okay. That should do right there. Hopefully you guys can see okay. And let me just, I'm going to increase the text size for you just because I know this is, okay. So since we're doing this so that, not so much to be modern Hebrew experts, but to learn biblical Hebrew, let's look at the evidence, the historical evidence, okay? So first of all, so yesh, the word yesh occurs about, ca means circa, approximately 130 times in the Hebrew scriptures. It shows up in the Samaritan Pentateuch, okay, ancient, right, pre-Christian, okay. Jerome, even in his Latin translation, represents it, okay. Shows up in different forms, like looking like Ish, okay, we'll deal with that some other time, in 2 Samuel, Micah. But even in Ugaritic in the 2nd millennium BC, it shows up as Eth and Ishi. Eth and Ishi, which is just like Aramaic, the word late, which we talked about during our Kohelet broadcast, okay? Whoops. Oh, man, of course I did that. Bear with me. Okay? Notice this. We keep going. We've got it in Phoenician, okay? We've got it in Aramaic, spelled differently, but Itai, there is, eat, okay? Shows up in Babylonian Aramaic as well, Jewish Aramaic, Akkadian, which is ancient, and then we get ishu, which means to have in Akkadian, okay, like yesh, okay, and so on and so forth. So the first point I want to make is that this is a very ancient form. It's a very ancient form, okay? And so literally you see it connected as a noun, a substantive is a noun. What is in existence? Property. Very rare form. It's in Proverbs once and Ben Sirah, or Sirach as we sometimes say, or Ecclesiasticus. So, but it's a rare form. It shows up in wisdom literature, not much. But here you go. There is something. Kohelet 1:10. So this is Ecclesiastes now. Yesh davar. Yesh davar. Okay. If you want to say, there are 50, this is Genesis 18 now, when Abraham's negotiating with God. Yesh chamishim. Okay. Yesh chamishim. Okay. God is present. Check out this one. Okay. Yesh Hashem. God is present. Okay. See that Genesis 28, Exodus 17. Okay. Let's see. We've got, and then just these different, a whole bunch of meanings here, in some of which are not going to be common every day in Hebrew. You prosper, okay? But then with the possessive, okay? So yesh le, he possesses, yesh lo, in Genesis 33:9, Genesis 33:11. But look at how copious the evidence is that this was very much a part of biblical Hebrew. This, if like, I can't speak about Yiddish because I know nothing other than like a handful of words. I have the Dick and Jane book in Yiddish with Dick and Jane, I think it is, see Jane schlep, 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 schlep. That's kind of the extent of my Yiddish, okay? But all that to say is, if Yiddish uses this, and I'll take your word for it that it does, it's not Hebrew getting it from Yiddish, it's Yiddish getting it from Hebrew, okay? All right, and Jank, bevakasha. All right, so there you go. Just a whole host of meanings. And, I can't get into all this obviously right now, but if you go back and you like freeze the screen and you want to watch it or something like that, you can look up all these verses yourself and you'll see, that's there. But this is what we do. We look at evidence, right? So please continue to ask these questions. All right. So if we want to say, I have a book, literally what we're saying in English, yesh, there is, li, to me, sefer, book. But the way we translate it is, I have a book. So, okay, Yiddish, none of on there. So please chime in anytime. I think it's great. Even if we're not talking about Yiddish, bring up Yiddish, because it's an opportunity for us all to learn something. So I'm thrilled with that. Oh, and I just realized I didn't shut off accordance. Hang on one second. There we are. Okay, now we're back. All right. Great. Thank you. I see. And since my nickname here isn't a real name, feel free to pronounce it however you like. I guess any way works. Okay. So if it's Herman, I'm happy to call you that, but I always like to pronounce people's names right. So you let me know if I'm getting it wrong. Okay. So yesh li sefer, I have a book. Okay. All right. I'm more of a Maltese guy if we're talking Semitic languages. All right. Very good. All right. So now, how would we say to a single male, you have a book? To a single male, we would say, yesh lecha. Oh, I'm sorry. They don't. Well, okay, let's do book. That's not what's written here. I just noticed. Sometimes I don't even read my notes. I just keep talking. If we want to say you have a book, yesh lecha sefer. You have a book. Yesh lecha sefer. Okay? If you want to say you have time, yesh lecha zman. Yesh lecha zman. You have time. So zman means time. Lecha means to you when referring to a single male, and yesh means there is. So, I have a book, yesh li sefer. You have time, sir, yesh lecha zman. Yesh lecha zman. Okay? All right, now let's just highlight it so our eyes don't jump. We want to distinguish the lines. That's the only reason I'm highlighting. Okay? All right, she has money. So literally what we're saying here is there is to her money. There is to her money. The word for money here, kesef, by the way, in biblical Hebrew generally means silver. Okay, silver, but it's used in modern Hebrew to refer to money in general. Yeah. So she has money. There is to her money. Yesh la kesef. Yesh la kesef. The historic, my great grandma spoke Yiddish and my uncle. Unfortunately, I know very little. Yeah, okay. Yep. And Jank, yeah, there you go. I saw you threw the question in there. Yep, absolutely. Silver. Yep. Kesef uzahav. Okay. Or kesef vizahav, depending on how you're pronouncing it. Yesh la kesef. Okay. All right. She has money. There is to her money. All right. Whoops. I guess I left a blank page in here. Now, how would we say I don't have? Okay. So let's just highlight here. Make sure you guys are seeing everything. And we got some new people on the broadcast. Welcome, welcome. Bruchim habayim. Glad you're with us today. Okay. All right. So, I don't have a book. Ein li sefer. Ein li sefer. Okay. There is not. Ein. To me. Li. Book. Sefer. Ein li sefer. I don't have a book. There is not to me a book. Okay. He doesn't have time. So let's reconstruct it into the literal English just to help us. There is not to him time. There is not to him time. Ein lo zman. Ein lo zman. There is not to him time. Ein means there is not. Lo means to him. Yeah. All right. And zman, time. Ein lo zman. Ein lo zman. Ein le'asaf mizmor. So Asaph doesn't have a psalm. Is that what you're, or a song? Is that what you're trying to say? Ein lo zman. All right. Next. All right. We don't have a car. Okay. We don't have a car. And we use the short form instead of michonit. We're going to use oto. Okay. Like automobile, right? But there's also in Hebrew, modern Hebrew, the word michonit, but oto is a little bit easier. Yeah. All right. So we don't have a car. Literally, there is not to us a car. There is not to us a car. Ein lanu oto. Ein lanu oto. There is not, whoops. There is not to us oto, a car. Okay. All right. Here we go. So, if we want to ask a question, now this is what one of the things that's great about Hebrew is that all we have to do is change the inflection of our voice. Okay. Whereas in English, we have this auxiliary word do and does and don'ts and all that. Okay. Hebrew's much simpler. If we want to say, do you have a book? We say, there is to you book, and you raise the inflection in your voice. There is to you book. Yeah. Yeah, oto's not a Hebrew word, but it still gets, you see it a lot in, it still gets bounced around in, with Hebrew speakers. I know some will use it, some will don't, but yeah, michonit was the word I was taught initially, but oto is just a little bit easier here, and it's one of those borrowed words. Probably the equivalent in some way when English speakers say shalom or something like that. It's like, shalom's not really a Hebrew word, or an English word, but it gets used. Like a lot of words in foreign language, the overlap. Yep. Yesh lecha sefer. Is that whatever? Yeah. Yesh lecha sefer. So do you have a book? Yesh lecha sefer. Okay, you can just raise the inflection. Yesh lecha sefer. And if you want to say you don't have a book, we're not getting there yet. Ein lecha sefer. You don't have a book. Okay. You don't have time. Ein lecha zman. Ein lecha zman. Ein lecha zman. Let's see. And I was trying to, oops, sorry. I was trying to give a thumbs up. I don't know where my thumbs up is on here. All right. I'm still learning things. I thought if I, oh, wait, there it is. Nope. Okay. We only have those. Sorry. Okay. I was trying to use the thumbs up feature and, well, apparently I'm totally incompetent with this chat thing. So, and now I can't get rid of the, emojis or whatever these things are. Oh, well, sorry about that. But thank you for your comment. I was trying to acknowledge it and then can't find it. Okay, so here are some practice sentences which were based on, the form we had before. And if you want to use the term michonit, which I didn't put in, there we go. Oops. Okay, michonit. Okay, michonit, another word for car. Okay. And then, so I have time. So literally, how would you say it in English? There is to me time. Okay, see if you can come up with the answer. She doesn't have a car, literally. There is not to her a car. There is not to her a car. And do you have money? Okay. There is to you money. There is to you money. Okay. Sounds so strange in English, but it's good Hebrew, good modern and biblical, as we saw before. So I have time. Yesh li zman. There is to me time. Yesh li zman. Yesh li zman. Okay. All right. She doesn't have a car. There is not to her a car. Ein la. Ein la. Michonit. Yes, hey, please help me out with the names. I'm sorry. I'm always trying to there's your native speaker's opinion. Yeah. No, this is great. So and bouncing back and forth between the chat and the notes and the screen. I'm so sorry. I apologize. But yes, please always chime in with that. Okay. So she doesn't have a car. And then do you have money? Masculine singular. Singular. Yesh lecha. Yesh lecha. Okay. Okay. Yesh lecha kezef. Yesh lecha kezef. Okay. And, answers there. You can change that out for michonit, of course. Yep. And, all right. So there you go. So in biblical Hebrew, I don't know. Let's look at, like, if you want to say in a biblical idiom, and I have no son, in biblical idiom, ve'en li ben. Ve'en li ben. And there is not to me a son. And what I'm going to do really quickly here is bring up, I'm going to put the Bible back up here. We're going to switch, give me a minute while I switch screens. And can you see that? Excellent. Oop, and that's the BHQ. Sorry, I don't want BHQ. I want BHS. BHS. There we go. And let me just see if I can stretch that out for you guys a little bit more. We don't need the Greek and the Aramaic right now. And bring that down. Hopefully that's a little more helpful anyway. Okay. And so just bringing this up. Let's see. We got our Hebrew. Yep. Yeah, they got it listed like that. Okay. And then we'll follow it with, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, we'll do boom, search, commands, followed by, and then we'll put a lamed. Yes. Okay, how is that possible? Ein followed by lamed. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I'm happy this channel popped in my feed 2 days ago. Never encountered it before. There must be a reason. Well, I'm so glad you're here. All right. So yeah, let me just for some reason I'm punching something in wrong with the search here, but oh, I see. I typed in the wrong ain. That's right. Okay. So ain, how are they listing it? This is interesting. They're listing it without the yud. All right. Well, let's just go with yesh for now. There's something is kind of funny here. This is so strange. There's something is off. All right, let me go to Ecclesiastes and we'll just do it this way. For some reason it's not popping up in the search feature, which is kind of a nuisance. Okay, but let's go to Ecclesiastes 1:10, and the easy workaround here is you just look up, search for lexeme, and boom, then it gives you every occurrence in the Bible. So here's the word yesh. Okay, boom, 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 boom. There you go. Okay, and so we saw this one before, and if you want to try doing some reading here, Ulai yesh chamishim tzadikim. Okay, perhaps there are 50 righteous. And let me just stop here. Let's see. All right, and keep practicing. Keep practicing. All right, so perhaps there are 50 righteous. Ulai yesh chamishim tzadikim. Okay. All right, there you go. Let's go down. All right. All right. And then you get im yesh et nafshechem. Okay. And this is kind of an interesting one because yesh can be used in a very different way too, meaning like in modern Hebrew, meaning it is necessary. Okay. We're not going to get into that tonight. Okay. But you're going to see, here, is there a room in your father's house? This ha right here is a question marker. It's an interrogative marker. But notice this, hayesh bet avich, okay, makom lanu. We saw that to us or for us, okay, lalin, to spend the night, okay. So hayesh bet avich makom lanu lalin. Okay. Is there a room in your father's house for us to spend the night? Yep. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Jank. Yep. All right. Let's do a little more reading. Now here, and we're not going to get into this tonight, but this is another use of yesh where you can add the preposition to it. Not dealing with that tonight. Okay. Here we go. Here's another one. Yeshchem. And you can see, V'ata im yeshchem osim chesed ve'emet. Okay. So now then, if you are going to show, if there is, you would, like literally in English, this just doesn't work, but it's something to the effect of, and now if there is, you are doing, so if it's going to be that you'll do chesed ve'emet, which, chesed is really covenant faithfulness. Biblically speaking, that's what chesed means. Loyalty to covenant loyalty. Yep. But, yeah, excellent. Good. And so there you go. There's another instance of it. Okay. There's Yishadonai. Notice the vocalization. Okay. This is an interesting one now. Yesh le'el yadi. Okay. Look at this for a minute. Yesh le'el yadi. Okay. There is to my hand. Okay. This is a very, so there is to the power of my hand. Now, check this out. I think you guys will find this really interesting. So going over into the dictionary, the word el can mean strength and power. But you say, wait a second, I thought el meant God. And it does. But notice that it also means strength and power. Okay. Yeah, I've learned something today. Yeah, lalin. There you go. Yeah. So, right, not every word in biblical Hebrew makes it into modern Hebrew. And, it's funny with modern Hebrew. I remember this is years ago now, so you probably understand this better than I do. But when Eliezer ben Yehuda was resurrecting the Hebrew language, he came up with, he invented a lot of words, and the one for telephone actually was, which didn't make it, was sach hakol, and sach hakol was telephone, so that was one of those that didn't make it. But it's interesting here, this whole business. And you see in Deuteronomy 28:32, ve'ein le'el yadenu, and there is not to the power of the hand of us, literally. Okay? And this is interesting for a variety of other reasons, because I just want to take you over. This is totally off topic now, but my life is off topic. Okay? And check this out. Bereshit bara Elohim, when God began to create, I know most people say in the beginning God created. When God began to create et hashmaim ve'et haaretz, the heavens and the earth, and it's not a period, it's a comma, okay? Interesting, yeah. V'haaretz hayta tohu vavohu. When God began to create the heavens and the earth, comma, the earth was a formless void, if you want to. Well, one rabbi that I studied under, going off topic is the spice of this live stream. Good. I'm glad. People who stick around, they know what they're here for, right? But one rabbi I studied under, he said, you know what tohu vavohu means? It essentially means messy schmessy. So he's saying, when God began to create the heavens and the earth was messy schmessy. Okay, a very, very Jewish and rabbinic thing to say. V'choshech al pnei tehom, and darkness was over the face of the deep. Now get this, v'ruach Elohim rachefet al pnei hamayim, and the Spirit of God, maybe, the wind of God, maybe, or how about a really strong wind? And if you actually look it up, you will see that sometimes Elohim is used not to refer to God himself, but it means a really strong wind. This actually shows up in Jonah too. Okay, a wind of God doesn't necessarily mean the Spirit of God here. It can mean a really strong wind. Okay, now I'm not saying that's the right interpretation. I'm not saying it's the wrong interpretation. All I'm saying is it's a justifiable interpretation. Okay, all right, cool. So anyways, we've looked at a lot of yeshes, and we've seen a lot of ains and all that. So I see we've been at this for about an hour, so I guess I should probably go see my family soon, and before they wonder what happened to me. But let me give 5 minutes for questions here. So any questions, any comments, please fire away. I know there's a little lag here, so I'm just gonna give you guys a minute to chime in. Any comments, any questions? Really enjoying the dialogue. Yep. All right. Looks like we got nothing. So, here we go. Are we doing the members only Zoom meeting this upcoming Monday night? Yes, absolutely. I'm going to be sending, I got your comment earlier today, Jenk, and yes, we are. We'll figure out a time over the weekend. I got to look at my schedule. But I think I just got to check the basketball schedule. So sometimes I get out of school at 4:30. Sometimes I don't get out till 6:30, and it just depends on what time that day. And that's New York time. So I will, get to you guys about that. And yeah, that's actually a great segue for those of you who want to join the members only Zoom meeting. It's going to be a Zoom meeting so that we can actually talk rather than just type. I would love to have you join. And I think the membership is like $5 a month or something like that. And this is just my way of saying thank you for your support. And if you happen to be a Patreon subscriber, just let me know, and I'll go check that out, and I'll add you to the Zoom call. So anybody who either supports me on YouTube or on Patreon, I'm happy to include you in that. And thank you so much for the moral support by everybody being here, and for the financial support for those who are able. No shame if you can't. Yeah, and then broadcasting tomorrow. Yes, I am. It's probably going to be in the morning, New York time. I'm thinking 10 o'clock, but I just can't commit to it right now. I have to travel to Massachusetts with my basketball team tomorrow, and that's going to take up a good part of my day. But I'm thinking of doing the Hebrew/Arabic thing tomorrow. I think next week I'm also going to do a stream on this book that I wrote, Jesus's Bible. And just so if you're interested, like some people are not interested in this sort of thing, and that's totally cool. And I just realized you can't see me because I left the thing up there. But I'll just hold the table of contents up for a minute so you can see the type of trying to do everything backwards here. So you can see the topics that we that we cover. Yeah. And so, the Masoretic text, what is the Masoretic text? Some of us in the Ecclesiastes study looked at the Leningrad Codex, and I talk about other manuscripts in there. What is biblical Hebrew as opposed to Middle Hebrew or Mishnaic Hebrew? I'm not too far from New York. I live in Connecticut, but not too far. I did my PhD at Jewish Theological Seminary in Manhattan. Yeah. Spent a lot of years in New York. So what is biblical Hebrew? And then the concept of historiography. What did it mean to be a historian in the ancient world as opposed to today, right? And what can we know about that? Literacy and text production. One of those things, did you realize that that in the ancient world, in Israel, literacy was probably around 5%? 5% of the population could read and write. And we get into not only how we know that, but why that was the case and how it impacted our understanding of the Bible. Then there's a chapter on who wrote the Bible. What can we know about biblical authors? Okay. What can't we know? And then there's 2 chapters on the Aramaic Targumim and the Septuagint. When I wrote this book, I didn't get into the Samaritan Pentateuch. It's less significant. It's important. It's very important, but it's less significant than the Targums and the Greek. So, but yeah, it's really just designed to paint a picture of how we know what we know about the origins of the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, the Old Testament, whatever you choose to call it. Okay. All right. Any other questions before I go? Any other questions? All right. Yep. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Good. It will be 5 p.m. here. Yeah. So 10 o'clock. So yeah, pencil it in. It says in the scriptures, let your yes be yes and your no be no. So I'm not going to say I'm definitely doing it at 10, but I think I can do it at 10. So just stay tuned tomorrow and, check the channel and you'll see an announcement if it's going to go live. So thank you all so much. Have a wonderful weekend. And PBR 4201, thank you so much. Yeah, really glad to have you guys here. And again, anybody who can, contribute to supers, becoming a channel member or becoming a Patreon member, really appreciate it. There's going to be a lot of videos dropping on Patreon this weekend. Yep. All right. Have a great weekend have a great evening, everybody. And